Net zero energy project, Mike, how long, is it done? That was 3 years
It's
ago,
not
right?
done, but they'll be here tomorrow for our kickoff meeting.
I think we approved that 2 years ago, Mr. Babcock.
Yeah.
And I think this thing was, we can't get anything through the state facilities department.
Well, I think,
And so either we paid somebody or we're greasing the wheel somehow, we've moved to the head of the line on a roofing project.
well, I think the main thing BDA approached them that it was not a full emergency, but there was some issues. And that it was only a roofing project, so they were able to move things up. The mechanical end of it is, there is a long waiting line when it comes to mechanical at the state, so.
Right.
that's-
So the roof is leaking, they'll help us out.
Yeah, yeah.
If I could add to that, Steve Mullen made a contact with someone directly, explained it, they told him, BDA, what to do and how to tag our application when it came in so that it would get back to their attention, so he's talking directly to somebody all the time, rather than just waiting for somebody to talk, so he knows who he's talking to.
And he is constantly on the phone with them, just to make sure that this does get through. They should have a revised set of drawings after our discussions, my constructability notes. I'm hoping within the next week or so, and then I'll go through those drawings again, make sure those notes were covered, and see if there's anything else in there that needs to be revised before we put it out on the street. Any other roofing questions?
Well, how much of a mess do you anticipate? There's gonna be a lot of debris coming off the existing roofs, is that right? Or is that not right?
Yes, the roofs that have the gypsum board deck is going right down to the gypsum, so we can check the gypsum, make sure it's solid, that there isn't anything that needs to be replaced. That's when you get into the insulation and the removal of that insulation, that kind of thing. The contractors that I've worked with, there's a few that aren't very cleanly as they work, but we'll make sure on a day-to-day basis that anything that is spread out, every day we'll walk the site, make sure things get picked up. It's gonna depend on how they come off with it. If it comes off in little pieces, the wind could pick up stuff, but we'll make sure things get cleaned up each day. Nothing else on the roof. The 2014 capital project, which is the balance of the work. We've been working and staying on the timeline of getting those drawings to SED by July 1st. BDA is working very hard with that. HMH, the site design group, has met with coaches concerning the track, softball fields, and the baseball fields, and the AD, and has got a lot of design things taken care of, reviewing things, making sure we have things in that sense taken care of, so that when the design gets done, we're ready to send it right to SED. I think really pretty much the only other things is that we have we had the traffic study. We reviewed that at the last facilities meeting, and out of that discussion were some options that they're gonna come back to the next facilities meeting and talk to us about some of the options for that. But we are still in that phase of getting that taken care of.
Those people, how are we going?
Maybe you missed,
I have,
Okay.
just weird times in the middle of the day. I know.
there, the traffic people came in and basically gave us some suggestions based on the way things exist now. I think they're gonna go back, and we accepted, or we thought 3 of them were really good. One is to put in more sidewalks all over, you know, like on the side of the road, to try and eliminate the buses in front of the elementary school. Like by rejiggering the road a little bit so that either it goes down to 1 lane or put in a big humongous bump or something like that. Anyway, so the high school kids don't have to walk, you know, across the parking lot to the buses. And the third suggestion was to make, that we liked, they had a lot of suggestions, was to make the elementary parking lot 1 way. No 2-way, none of that. 1 way coming in from the street side. And those 3 ideas we liked. They had another idea to put a traffic circle right where the main intersection is, and I think that didn't go over so well, but I don't know. Kids
And
drive
all these things
fast.
have costs.
Yeah,
What they've suggested so far is not expensive.
No.
Uh,
It's within the budget that we allotted for that.
Easily, easily,
Easily.
yeah.
Okay, good.
So they're getting creative.
but there is some additional costs, there is some other things that are happening. I think that's why we're looking at what we're gonna do with the fields and how we would go about that with the softball field, the modified baseball field. And savings from that can go in, that's the goal, is to take those savings if there is,
If there
put
is,
it towards the traffic if there is.
I don't think we've decided anything about
No,
that
we have
yet.
not. No.
At one point, Peter, they had mentioned they were gonna be sort of videotaping traffic
They
flow
did.
and that
They
sort of
did.
thing, and they did.
They caught your car parked in the illegal spot. No, it's John. It was John, yeah. And mine too, by the way. No. No, they did. They did a lot of traffic study work and they seem quite competent, but I believe that they're gonna go back to the, not to the drawing board, but they're gonna go back and come up with creative ideas too.
Yes. Yeah, a couple other options they're bringing to us, at the facilities meeting, which is on.
So, and then the
15th.
full board, what do you think we'll bring since I'm on the facilities committee, what do you think we'll bring 2 or 3 options to the board to consider, or
Well,
do you think we'll make one out?
No, it's not a big package. It's a bunch of different ways of dealing with things, so.
Yeah, I think you just need to come to a decision
Options.
in the facilities committee on what's gonna be the best option, put that out there.
And when does that decision have to be sort of decided?
I think they wanna try to do some discussion of that on the 15th of May at that meeting, because we need to try to get those designs done and ready to start, heading up to SED by July 1st. So there's a lot of work still involved in the specifications and the drawings and stuff for that, so.
And and Michael, that guy there is, is complaining that he can't put his signs up, so. Anyway. You did, Michael, at the meeting. Anyway, because he doesn't know what we're doing yet.
I'm not getting into
So
Yes.
it looks to me like nothing's gonna happen before the end of school.
Oh,
We gotta get you taken.
Is that correct or not?
Actually, there's, Jeannie Wiggins does have a plan, she is going to implement that, actually sort of might give the traffic folks and all of us an idea of what does happen if you reverse it and one-way it pretty much.
Oh, the one-way deal.
Yeah, we're gonna
We want that.
Change the drop
change
off.
the direction and allow for drop off along the whole building, so make it
Okay,
a
so you
long
did do the
lane.
one-way.
Yeah.
Going ahead with that.
Not done yet, but they're
June
going to.
3rd will be the first date, so
Oh,
we'll be
very good.
unrolling it for parents input.
The traffic,
I bet. Oh,
but when you as an elementary school principal, I see a reality show coming.
I can too, both me and the intersection. You can't turn that way.
So we have time, this is on, so we're not off the rails
It
here.
was one.
We're on track, so we have plenty of time to deliberate this, and it sounds like you got budget options for
You
fields.
should check.
So they're already stealing money out of the fields budget.
Well,
We're
not
always the
necessarily,
poor
'cause we haven't
step
made
child.
any, there hasn't been
We're
any
always the
decision.
poor stepchild.
No, I think what you're gonna see is you're gonna see base bid on everything, according to the original budget.
Right.
And all the conversations about any of the site work or even anything in the buildings has resulted in some new ideas and new requests that carry additional price tags. So you're gonna have a baseline budget for what was originally in the project, and some things to consider as potential alternates and or options. That's what you're gonna see.
But I think, through that, we'll be able to decide, with the facilities committee and the board, what's the best option and where the costs need to go. I mean, I think, as you all know, the traffic issue is definitely a priority, and so, we have to make sure that that is gonna be taken care of, in that manner. The only other updates I have is at the, gym floor, when I was
Our other favorite
All your
topic.
favorite
When I was at the constructability meeting at VDA, they had 2 different samples of gym floors, and they're planning on bringing those samples to the facilities committee meeting. And one of those samples is what the one they think they're going to recommend is installed in a gym at Child Central School, and they're looking to set up a possibility of going up there and seeing what that's like. So
Yeah.
that'll be brought up in the facilities meeting for that.
How long has that one been up there?
I can do an update on that. I actually saw those today, Andrea brought them down. The one that's in Chili is very closely related to the one we presently have. So it didn't get my top vote. The other flooring system actually contains more of a subfloor component to it. We just have concerns about the cushion material that they're using, on the bottom side on the concrete. So, BDA can actually talk with the, supplier of that flooring system and see if they can have the different rubber. They carry them, it's just they use them on different flooring systems.
How are you integrating that environmental data we have from inside the gym, that climate data you collected, Mike? Were you in on that, Mike?
No, he wasn't.
How are you integrating what we think may be a sort of weird environment, or maybe we don't know if it's a weird environment, with the failure of the floor?
We don't have a weird environment.
We don't, okay.
No, but the environment that we have is typical in New York State high schools without air conditioning.
Okay.
It's.
That's the weird part.
That's the answer.
Without climate
Yeah.
control.
So that's to my question, do these floors work in non-air conditioned gyms?
They do in other parts of the state, yes, so they should work there.
Good.
We have one at the middle school that's working in a non-air conditioned gym.
Which is not the one we put here,
No, we're not the one we're doing.
because we can't do this again?
Right.
Can't have
We
another
put,
calamity.
I won't.
We put 2 in at the TCMO BOCES project. There's no air conditioning in those gyms, and they have had no issues with the floor at this time. So that's probably going on 4 or 5 years.
I would say that the gym floor is up there with the middle school stairs in sort of level of
It's not,
importance
no,
that we,
it's not.
nothing could rise to that level, of
Nothing.
course. But so we're gonna get this right? We're gonna get this right, guys?
That's
We're
the
gonna
plan.
get this
we're
right.
gonna do it right.
That's the
That's
plan.
the plan.
Yep.
Good.
And I think the only other thing is they were by to do some measuring of the middle school windows and looked at the lentils,
Yep.
things like that, just to continue that design work for the windows there too. So that work is continuing, and so we'll just keep moving forward. If there's no other questions, concerns?
Mike, when's the facility study committee scheduled to meet next Wednesday?
I thought it was at 4 o'clock, am I wrong on that? That's what my calendar says.
4 o'clock on the 15th, on the 15th?
One.
I have 1 o'clock, yeah.
It's not sound positive.
They didn't change that, did they? They sent me an email.
It's at 1.
Yeah, okay. It's at 1.
I think it was only that first one.
Any other questions?
One more. How much does it cost to put air conditioning in the gym?
We haven't put a price tag on it, we didn't even look at that yet.
Just rough. 10, 20, 30,
You're probably talking 60, 70,000.
Yeah.
okay.
You have a lot of, I guess,
Then you have,
interior and roofing and walls.
It's a brand new building.
Yeah.
well, one of the things that has changed is some code requirements have changed. If you think back to the cardio room, that had a new air handler system installed in 2001. In 2010, here when we just did that room,
Or redo it.
HVAC code requirements changed. We had to change, put a brand new air handler and bigger ductwork in to air condition that space. Just because of code requirements. My guess is if we looked to air condition that gym, we may get caught up in the same issue that code by code, those units aren't large enough.
Well, then let's make sure we get the right floor.
So I think we'll be good.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Well done.
Moving on to the community representation by Mr. Neil Clifford.
It's Neil Clifford and Company, I think. Got a bunch of friends.
Come on, Neil, run up here, will you?
You got it, I'm on it. I brought some gifts.
Could have put a ceramic.
Start.
Is that legal?
Testing the last couple weeks.
My son is putting mine by my bag.
Oh, yeah.
Can I keep the interior stuff?
That's from.
Yes, good.
Is this what we're reading? This is the community read. Comes with a couple of gifts inside. So, we're at the time of year in which it's really, I guess, one of my favorite times because the community read historically has been a time when our building comes together. Every student in the middle school reads the same book at the same time, along with faculty, and we design instruction around it as teachers. And there's a number of events associated with the community read, kind of build that community spirit, something that I think Trumansburg is kind of noted for. We had our kickoff about a week ago, and all the students got their books on the 22nd, and they got a couple of kind of a gift pack to go with it. Inside your books, you're going to see a flyer for the Trumansburg Farmers Market, which we've been working closely with. They have been extremely supportive of this endeavor, both with their ideas and probably more importantly with their pocketbooks. A number of farmers have donated some funds, I think up to $500, to purchase additional books to put out in the community, to leave around at the coffee shop and the pizza shop and the bank, or wherever people might be standing in line, in the hopes that people might pick up this little book and read it and kind of participate in the community read. And again, to bring people together and to share a little. Our kickoff was fantastic. That was last Friday, and we had we shared a video called Truck Farm. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it. It's available at our local library. One of the producers and the musical genius behind that short movie was Simon Bynes. Simon was a T-Berg alum, or is a T-Berg alum, class of 1998, I think. And he put together, or helped put together, a nice award-winning video about this young man who basically inherits his uncle's pickup truck and turns it into a farm and kind of travels around New York City with it and visits a number of other different alternative kind of growing arrangements, including the rooftops of New York City, a floating barge that travels among the 5 boroughs. Really kind of a phenomenal idea. And then after the movie, we had the good fortune to Skype with Simon, who currently lives in Hawaii. And so we had all 330 kids just kind of hanging on his every word. They did a question and answer session, and it was really tremendous. I think at any given time, there were at least probably 250 hands in the air waiting to ask a question. And then he kind of teased us a little bit and gave us the view from his house of the Pacific, which was really very stunning. The kids seemed to enjoy that quite a bit. Afterward, we had an additional speaker, a local celebrity who's actually here in our audience today. Coincidentally, Anthony Okuma, who's definitely a fan favorite, who talked a little bit about the message of coming together and supporting one another in these endeavors. And in addition, he's also connected via the food program. So Anthony, you can jump in at any time if you want to put a plug in, certainly. I don't want to hog the floor entirely.
You're doing good.
All right.
You're happy to.
So there are a number of events taking place for this, and it's really, this is my 4th community read, and I think this is the best one so far. Again, we've been working very closely with the farmers market. Much of this that you have before you is compliments of Q Cassetti, who's part of that farmers market. She's putting together a poster that was created by 13 different 5th grade artists. I think it was exclusively 5th grade. Yeah. And in addition to that poster, there's going to be a QR code where you can actually link in to hear one of our local celebrities read an excerpt from the book. The book, as you can see, is quite short. It's basically a composite of 13 different perspectives in which a number of people kind of come together in the city of Cleveland around this abandoned city lot, and slowly it just kind of turns into this sort of working farm, and then their stories start to cross over, and really kind of both endearing and inspiring. So let's see, I'm just going to share with you one of those local celebrities. We're calling it the Celebrity Podcast Project. Let's see here. Get there. In which a number of students and faculty and
That.
who's that handsome guy? Huh?
Does he work here?
I'll let you hear his message later. You can tune in there. But let's see. Mike, I don't know if this.
Why are we hiding this thing, you know? Why isn't this thing on the homepage, Michael?
What's that, sir?
Why are we hiding this thing?
I know it.
It's his thing, it took him 5 minutes to find it. That thing should be on the homepage. Should we put it on the homepage?
All right, so here's the middle school library webpage in case you want to click in later. But you can listen to a number of different Seed Folk chapters. Let's see, let's go to Amir. Let's see. Let's hope this works. I haven't tried it outside of our building yet. So, all right, we have a little 10 seconds of downtime here. In any case, so I asked a number of folks to read different chapters, a number of students, and that's generated a lot of buzz within the building. Kids are very excited to hear the peers. And so during my media literacy class, while kids are working on projects, they're also tuning in to their peers. I think I have to validate it, Mike. Is that all right with you?
Yes, it is.
All right, and I'm going to accept that. Jeez, there's a lot of hurdles. How about express settings, Michael?
Sure, let's do that.
So we're evaluating you, Neil.
Yeah.
We got the APPR sheets right over here, buddy.
Here you go. Cross your fingers.
Well done.
In India, we have many vast cities, just as in America.
I don't know if you can
There
hear that
too,
very well.
you are one among millions. But there, at least, you know your neighbors.
Do you recognize your
Here,
voice?
one cannot say that.
Courtesy of
The object in
Mr.
America
Boyard.
is to avoid contact, to treat all as foes unless they are known to be friends.
So a number of the ELA teachers are tuning in as well. And again, it's just a nice way to kind of bring people together and get the word out about what's taking place with the community read. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about? I don't want to.
I just have about, we can talk about
All right. Jenny Owens is in charge of the Community Read Picnic, which is going to take place on the
21st, yes. So as part of the community read, we reached out to the T-Bird community, and we are having a bring your own picnic on Tuesday the 21st. We had to move it, thank you for giving us Friday off. That made us move the picnic to the 21st. We're going to have some music going on, bring your own picnic, and the middle school PTO is generously donating their time and their money to have an ice cream social for everybody, and possibly a seed planting activity as well. So just a nice event for the whole community to come out and join in our community read and join in the community spirit. And hopefully it'll raise some buzz for the middle school band concert that will be happening after.
What time?
5 to 6:30.
Yeah, so we'd like to put a little, any musicians in the audience who would like to come out and be part of that entertainment, that would be great.
For some live music.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but the middle school PTO is also providing an ice cream social as well. So if that's not enough of a draw, you get people out.
And we need scoopers, volunteer scoopers.
Volunteer scoopers.
Get us shirts, we like shirts. We
You guys
promote
are
organizations
stylish
that give us
today.
shirts.
Whatever it takes.
My old shirt that says T-Bird Academics, think about it.
Yeah, there you go.
And how about chops in the...
Yes.
And the chocolate.
So our culminating activity is going to take place on the 23rd.
Again,
we have
thank
a
you
couple
for
of things. A couple of things taking place. In a perfect world, we are going to farm out the entire middle school student body to a number of local farms and CSAs, and give them that kind of experience and see how food actually gets from the farm to your table, and maybe to the farmer's market. And then they'll come back, and then in the afternoon, we're going to have, are there any foodies here by any chance? All right, Frank, so maybe this will appeal to you. There's a show called Chopped,
Yeah.
in which a number of celebrity chefs or wannabe celebrity chefs compete. They're given a number of ingredients, common ingredients, and maybe one mystery ingredient. They have to prepare a dish. So we have designed more or less a Chopped episode in the middle school, in which we are going to have a number of grade level chefs, accompanied by a bunch of assistants who are the top readers in the middle school, which is kind of a nod for their hard work over the course of the year, and to also celebrate the fact that the middle school once again is going to read in excess of 2 million minutes for the 4th year in a row collectively. Anyway, so they're all going to prepare a dish. There'll be 4 separate tables. We're going to try to bring in some celebrity judges and experts from Hazelnut Kitchen, cross our fingers.
Well, I think the board has a fair amount of experts that I'm sure could do a fine job with that.
Oh, I have no doubt.
If you're looking for board involvement, I would say that
We are
certainly a good way to
looking
bribe some board members is that I would be happy to be one of those snobby judges.
who shall remain nameless. So yeah, by all means, we would love to have everybody come out and participate. And I think it'd be, again, another opportunity for us to come together as a district, both as a building, certainly the board, and to invite parents and whoever would like to come and enjoy that day. And again, we will need some judges. So if you're volunteering in that role, I'm sure that we can find a place for you.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it promises to be a really terrific collective community read this year. So just want to give you a heads up. Did I miss anything?
No, that was comprehensive.
All right, you got it. Sorry, I didn't let you guys be here all night if you let me run with it.
It's been really amazing to see the school come together around us. So, and if you get a chance to read it, it really is a short read, and or you can listen to it.
Or you can listen to it.
One step at a time.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Well done.
Thank you.
And thanks for moving us up a little bit.
Next we have the art department, YAM success presentation by Ellen Penn.
Amanda Clumio is passing out some samples of some artwork that was typical of what we created this year at the Youth Arts Month. So thank you for having us tonight. We really appreciate you letting us come here and tell you all about the good things we did with the kids this past February and March. And I'll just get right down to it, what we did. We came here last year to tell you what we were doing as far as the Youth Arts Month went. And just so a little refresher in case you've forgotten, the Youth Arts Month was started in 1961 by the Arts and Crafts Materials Institute in cooperation with National Arts Education Association. Something that's held annually to emphasize the value of art education and to encourage support for quality school art programs. And we couldn't have done it again this year without the great support of the TCSD Foundation. And they were 100% behind us. We applied for that grant again this year and they said, you go. So we said, okay, we are gonna get plastered. Our goals for this year was to, again, provide or get as many students as we possibly could involved in the Youth Arts Month. So we involved grades K through 12. Last year it was pretty popular, so we decided we would try to push it into February. Last year we strictly focused on March, and this year we extended out a little bit further into February. And we really wanted to focus on something specific that we would never, ever, not in a million years, do with little kids, plaster, which was so much fun. And we wanted students to meet somebody who actually worked with this material. And then we wanted to show off all their hard work to the community. And we have a great staff person who is awesome at making posters, who we're going to have to hire next year, we're going to have to budget for. Nikki Clark makes our posters for us for Youth Arts Month. So you can see we had this laid out for the students. We had the featured artist was Paul Bazzo. He's a retired art teacher from Mansfield, Pennsylvania. And he works specifically with these materials that you're passing around right now. We opened that up to grades 3 through 12. So we had Paul come in and talk to the kids 5 through 12, and Amanda Colunio worked with the kids 3 and 4. So he basically puts plaster joint compound on masonite board and puts a bunch of stamps in them, and he makes these beautiful pieces, and the kids were so funny with him. Here he is with, I think I recognize that girl. So here he is putting some plaster on some boards for some kids. This is one of his works. I mean, they're just remarkable to look at. They're very colorful. There's a lot going on in them, a lot of colors. So the kids were instantly drawn to these. And it was quite a process too. Here's some examples of his work there to the left and just the tools that he uses. It's really simple what he does, but he has this really great eye for it and can really engage the students. So here he is again with the students. And here's the younger kids working with the stuff. It's like frosting a cake and then going through and putting a bunch of stamps in it. So the kids had a great time and they really liked plaster. And it was great for all those ages. We probably could have done it with little kids too. So here's some student examples. The kids really wanted to get their hands on these by the end of the March. They had to wait till the end of March before they could take them home because we had to put them at the show. We also did, we wanted to target K through 12, so we provided another workshop for kids K through 2 that was a plaster casting where we took homemade Play-Doh and the students, all they had to do was press texture into it and then they mixed and poured plaster into these shallow dishes. And if you've ever seen a kid mix plaster, no, you never have, because it's crazy. Why would you do that? So we worked out a way that we could do it the most effective way we could. We figured out how much we could put into a plastic bag, and they just had to massage it. Now, that's all they had to do. And the kids thought that was the best thing ever, and they loved putting their texture into the Play-Doh. Super fun. They had a great time, and many of them they were watching each other, seeing what each other was doing, and then mixing the plaster was obviously the best part. Many of them actually said in their follow-up, I'm pretty sure I could fix a wall at my house. I'm pretty sure I would know how to work this joint compound into a wall if I ever did. Here they are at the show at the end. So they're a neat little hook in the back, and so they can hang them right on the wall. And they got to do them all different colors. We also did some plaster body casting in the high school. So the kids were able to plaster their faces and their arms, legs, feet, whatever they wanted to, and then they painted them to kind of express more of an individual feeling. And you gotta have 100% trust from these kids when you're doing these things, because they're like, really? You really want to do this to me? So they decided which way they wanted to have their face cast, and they did it to each other as well. Which this to me is a scary picture, like, are you sure? Okay, I'm up to the knee, all right, sure, I can do that. And here's one of the pieces to the far left. That's the girl who was to the side. She had mirrors and poppies on her, so very neat. And then we also did, in conjunction with all that, the March Art Madness, which all the school participates in. Everyone has an opportunity to vote on their favorite artist. All the students, faculty, and staff were given information about artists, and then they could vote on who they wanted to win and who they wanted to move forward. This was our bracket this year. Of course, we had George Siegel, because he's the plaster cast guy. We had a few solid Salvador Dali. I thought high school was the faculty was totally going to win with that one. We had Dale Chihuly, a few unknowns, a few knowns, and then at the opening night with our presentation, with our art show, everyone found out that the winner was Rob Gonsalves, and the elementary school took it this year. So I don't know. I think it might have been rigged. He's a surreal artist, but his stuff is really fascinating. And then we had our art show on March 28th, the culmination, all the pieces that were created during the course of those workshops. We also displayed some stuff that we made in art classes K through 12. We had a running slideshow of Rob Gonsalves' work and a bunch of his books. We had other pieces displayed called Brush with Creativity. It was kind of a K through 12 project that we wanted to do. We had to paint a brush in some creative way. And honestly, this year, because I think people heard we had cheese and crackers, we had over 200 people come to our show. And the cheese and crackers survived up until maybe the last 15 minutes. So that was great. And we couldn't believe it. People were coming before the show even started, and we had to kick them out in the end. So that was a great feeling that all these people came to see this artwork. we moved up to a bigger space. So in the background there, that big black strip, those are paintbrushes creating a wave there. You see all the people kind of milling about, which is what they do at art shows, and they discuss artwork. It's very exciting. So we had several high school pieces shown. There's the boards there in the front and the plaster pieces around. And then the students are able to take their stuff home. We hold them, you know, until the very end. And just so we can openly say this to everyone, we just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who helped and participated in this, because it takes a lot of people to keep this stuff going. Especially the TCSD Foundation, parent volunteers, student volunteers. Students started avoiding me. They're like, oh, come on, please don't make me work faster again. The maintenance and ground crews for moving all of our stuff all the time. The joint compound is heavy. It's heavy stuff. The district office for helping me with all the forms, and of course the students who had a great time. They had a wonderful time. So we just want to say thank you for letting us present tonight, and that's us, the art department.
You submit a grant, Ellen, to the foundation annually? Have you expanded it over the years?
This one was expanded. We've done it for the last 3 years. So the first year was for, personally for me, for my classes, but in the last 2 years we've done the Youth Arts Month. That's been our focus.
So, one more thing, I'm sorry. What's the plan for next year?
So the plan for next year, if you want a little sneak peek, we've already started talking about it. We were thinking of more of a fibers, because it's things that we are not able to do in classes anymore because of just the amount of people we have to be able to do it.
So here's what I'll offer.
Okay.
You can bring the classes out to shear our alpacas.
Wonderful.
And then you can have all the fiber you want to dye and spin and.
Do you tape these?
I gotta try tape.
Well, we will gladly accept that. Yeah, that would be great.
So just change the medium, but do it in the same structure.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah.
Do you involve local artists as well in demonstrations and such?
Yeah, last year we actually had many local artists. Julie Crosby was a clay artist that we had come. She worked with the little kids. Clay was a big one last year. So next year we're definitely going to look to the art trail and to locals to, you know, Frank Rossi to help us with our fiber. Yeah, so we will be more local. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well done. Well
Great,
done.
thank you.
Okay. Like a 10. Kind of scary.
Yeah, looking for a motion to adjourn the regular meeting to go into the annual budget hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The annual budget hearing, I call to order. I guess I'm being the chairperson. Declare the public hearing for the purpose of the final overview of the proposed 2013-14 school budget. The board of elected candidates are Peter Cook, this is an order that they were pulled, Peter Cook, Royal Westwater, Gary Askels, Jane Gallagher, and we all know, and Mr. Westwater. That's me. Does anyone, is this where they get up and?
Let's do the budget first. Do the budget first. But each of you, right, everybody gets a chance to make a statement. It's gonna be funny when the chair goes down and you go around the floor. That's not gonna be fun. Michael, what are our options for fixing this AV problem? Projecting it somewhere else, like over Gary's head.
Have me sit up there.
There are a number of options.
Let's
I
talk
think
about
this
those.
is the low budget option.
The
one we have to decide.
facilities committee, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, one thing we are looking at, Frank, is moving to the first classroom right out to the right, coming out of the district offices this way, turning that into a district professional development center, and really it has, it's not quite as spacious as this, but you take out all the choir chairs, and we might have enough space to really have a decent-sized board meeting, and then the projection options change quite a bit, much more positive.
I'll let you introduce it.
Well, as I'm guessing everyone knows that we've had quite a year of taking a close look at our budget and our challenges. We're down about 263 students since 2004. The declining state aid, that gap elimination adjustment has shorted us over $5 million in the last 3 or 4 years. The tax cap puts limits on how much we can raise our taxes, and then increased expenditures we have no control over, and I think that's on the next slide, so I won't roll through those. But our goal with the leadership team and in our conversations and presentations to the board has always been to preserve what we treasure about what we offer for our students, quality programs and services. And it's always been a theme of improving efficiency while maintaining effectiveness throughout our school district. And I believe we've done a very good job of making recommendations that meet those goals.
Okay, so we thought it was best to stay consistent. Most of this information you've seen numerous times at board presentations. So we'll just summarize once again to give you an overview. Some of the major increases that we looked at this year that posed challenges to us from 12-13, 13-14 were the increases in health insurance. That's a 6% increase that we looked at this year. The unemployment insurance last year, that was taken completely from, we had minimal expenditures there, but that was taken completely from a reserve. This year the full amount is reflected in the expenditure budget, and it will be offset by the revenue stream of roughly $110,000. New Roots charter tuition, I felt like that was worth mention, that enrollment continues to increase. Last year we had 13 students attending, and this year we are currently up to 17. So that it changes, it's slightly unpredictable, and the tuition for New Roots charter schools is just over 10,000 a student. Teachers' retirement system contribution, that percentage increase in 12-13 was 11.84%, and that has jumped to 16.25% for next year. Early estimations have indicated that that will be in the low 20s for the next several years. We'll see where that ends. Employee retirement system contribution, again, that percentage increase went from 18.7% to a 20.9%, so that speaks to that increase. And then the debt service piece that's the one that I explained at the last board meeting. This is really a jump in the expenditure budget, because in the past we showed a piece of what that expenditure for debt service was in the expenditure budget, and the remaining was funded from the debt service fund. Which did not show in the revenue stream. So I have included for 13-14 the entire figure, which is $2.5 million in the expenditure budget, and that's offset, which you'll see in the next couple of slides, in the revenue stream by the $588, which is coming from the debt service fund. So just those expenditures alone, we were looking at a $1.4 million increase over the 12-13 budget. And that's not to mention some of the smaller increases that we didn't feel the need to highlight here.
Kimberly, has the discussion to sign on to a fixed contribution percentage continued at any level?
There is a lot of talk about that. It's not real clear about what districts would lock into. It looks like at this point there could be at least a 2% percentage increase each year, but after 5 years, I believe you have to repay that at the U.S. Treasury rate. So it's really...
So the way it's looking right now, you don't see that proposal as something we would view as favorable for this district?
I would not be comfortable doing that at this point, because right now we're able to meet this obligation, and really what that is saying is 5 years from now, we would not only be responsible for the increases, but also the borrowed money that we would have to pay back. So it's really just pushing the debt forward into more uncertainty.
So what kind of a district would actually take that option?
Not many we're hearing, if any. Unless they're really desperate, I guess, don't have the money at all, they take whatever they can.
But you're still gonna make you lock in at a high rate, I would imagine.
I think the initial rate is lower, it's locking you in at a lower rate. However, you're still responsible for that full contribution.
At some point.
So 5 years down the road, you still owe that whole amount that you didn't pay.
So it's not a forgiveness, it's a you pay.
It's a delay, it's a delaying thing.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay, this is the same projection of revenue we've seen over and over again. We are looking at local revenue from the real property taxes this year in the amount of just over $10 million. That represents a 3.38% to the tax levy, an additional revenue of $329,000. Down in the TN section, that represents the state aid that we project to receive. As many of you have already heard before, we've been working on the budget since prior to November. The district and the administrative team had made many decisions, and we felt like we were at a good point when the state came in with additional revenue, which was a great thing for Trumansburg. However, our hard work had already been done, and we had made a lot of adjustments. So again, if you look to the purple section where it says $814,532 of applied fund balance, that number previous to that adjustment in the state revenue was at $1.2 million. So we were able to reduce that application of fund balance. And what that did is that pushes us forward into 14-15, 15-16, 16-17, and actually into 17-18, where we still have applied fund balance. What that means is that next year as we build budget, actually next year we had originally projected to use $1 million. I've been able to reduce that to $600,000, which then gave us money to use in 15-16. If you recall, going several board meetings back, 15-16 was the year that we no longer had applied fund balance, which meant the district was going to take a $1.2 million or at least $1 million hit at that point.
So what you're saying is the adjustments we're making and another $300,000 from the state is actually allowing us to project further out.
Yes.
With that fund balance. I mean, it's not gonna change the fact that all those expenses are still gonna rise quicker than we're able to generate revenue.
That is
It's just
correct.
gonna soften the blow a little bit.
Exactly. And it really helps in 15-16. 15-16 was the year that I was most concerned about, probably a month or two ago, where we were saying somehow this district has to make up $1.2 million in lost funding that we will no longer have. So at this point, we have $400,000 to soften that blow. And we could still be flexible. Those are just projections. So, we could say next year we actually need to use $700,000 and then reduce the future years out. But obviously, lots of conversations will need to take place between now and then. Again, just review, we are within the tax levy, which is at 3.38%. What that means is the tax rate per $1,000 of assessed value is $19.69. Last year it was at 2.7%. That tax levy increase actually generates $329,000 for us in the 13-14 budget. Proposed expenditures. The state asked us to break the budget into 3 components, and I think it's particularly helpful. I color-coded it, so the administration is actually the green section. The administration is actually the Board of Education. It includes sections, district clerk, the treasurer, the superintendent, the business administrator, auditing, tax collection, personnel management, public information, BOCES, administration, and capital are all included in that section. And this year that represents 6% of the total budget, which is just over $24 million. The total budget is $24 million. The capital section is highlighted there in purple. And the capital section includes operation of plant, maintenance of plant, debt service, repair contracts. It includes the electricity, gas, water. And you can see that represents 18.6% of the total budget. And the largest component, as it should be, is program, or sometimes referred to as instruction. And you can see this section of the budget obviously includes the health, psychological, curriculum, teaching, special education, library, computer-assisted instruction, attendance, guidance. For the most part, everything it takes to deliver a program to our students. And that this year is just over $18 million and represents 75.4% of the total budget. The number that you see at the bottom, and it looks like the gold, is 6.35%. That number, again, I had said last time at the board meeting, it's a little bit deceiving. Our budget increased, budget to budget, if we did not take into consideration that new accounting practice for the debt service is really only just over 3.37% increase. But once you factor in that new accounting process for the debt service, it actually inflates that to 6.35%.
And the balance of which comes out of our reserves.
That is, it comes out of the debt service fund.
Oh, the debt service.
Although the expenditures looks like they have increased, it's offset by the debt service fund.
Right.
And I just felt like that was important to really get into the expenditure budget, because as we move forward in years, at some point that debt service fund will run out, and you will see the full expenditure in the expenditure budget, and it won't be offset by the debt service fund anymore. We're no longer contributing to that. So this is just a summary of what I just stated. It really breaks down the three components of the budget. Okay, Michael, do you want to speak to this piece? There are 3 pages of adjustments here. This is the hard work that was done by the administrator and provides a summary of the reductions that are in the proposed budget.
These 3 pages summarize over 2 board meetings in February and March, the recommendations by the leadership team. And there's a slide later, I think about 3 slides away, that sort of summarizes. It's like 7 teaching positions, 9 support staff positions are abolished. We had if you recall, last summer we had a resignation in music, and we let that position go, abolish that. So you can see the full impact, which really none of us wanted to do, but we needed to make this work. So 8 teachers, 1 counselor, a social worker, 9 support staff, 5 coaching positions were recommended. And then there were a lot of employees who had pay reduced because of stipends or numbers of days that they work in this summer.
Or reduced from 12 months to 10 months.
And they were reduced from 12 to 10 months, yes.
Okay, just a reminder, the vote is on May 21st at the Ulysses Historical Society from noon to 9. We have been taking many questions by emails, phone calls. Feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to get back to you individually if you have questions that are still lingering.
One additional thing I'd like to mention is around the 5 coaching positions. In soccer, at least, we're talking to the Taganic Soccer Club, and there may be some kind of an arrangement where we can keep JV next year. Not sure how it'll all work out. It'll kind of be new territory, but that's a conversation that's pretty active right now. We're not sure where that will go, but that may come before the board so that you can approve that kind of thing.
Can you shut that light now?
This one?
Yes.
Thanks.
Well, but
Do we, questions, are there questions? Yes, questions from the community?
Sure.
Okay. Yes.
John's running the meeting.
John, we taking questions?
It's already a done deal, but we can ask questions if we can answer them. If they're too complicated, the superintendent or the business official will get back to you. Any questions? Moving on to introduce the board candidates and allow them a moment to speak. First we have Mr. Crook.
Am I limited to 20 minutes?
Oh,
Well, I do. I do want to stand up and speak. I do have some
Well,
things to say.
Handwritten.
Totally unprepared.
Handwritten. Yes. Actually, I do have a presentation.
The Luddite that you are.
Right. Now, I guess, obviously everybody knows there's 4 people running for 4 positions. So this is not a campaign speech. But I just wanted to talk about what I think has happened I've been on the board 6 years. I think that, as some people have heard me say, that the ideal board member would be an educator, a lawyer, an accountant, a psychologist, a computer expert, a building contractor, but also deeply committed to the district. And I am 2 out of those 7. So I'm not ideal, but I'm still around here. The next few years, very difficult times. When the state gives you 10 million, takes 2 back, and then gives you 400,000 and says, boy, aren't you lucky? That's essentially what they do. Well, they give us 11 million, they take 1.9 back. The gap elimination adjustment is, the gap they're talking about is the gap between how much money they have and how much they need to spend. And the school districts all over pay, I think all of them pay a gap, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Anyway, that's a problem. And I think if we didn't have that, we would be in good shape. But we have to make difficult decisions, and I think our administration has done a fair job of that. Need to be aware of in the next year or 3 years. I'm going to be on the board 3 more years, and then I'm out.
That's a repeat.
Yeah. Did I say that last time? Okay. I think one thing that looks good to me now, and I think we have to maintain, is stability of leadership. I've been on this board 6 years, and I believe we have the best administration that we've had in 6 years. It's not easy when you're on the board for 6 years. You have 3 superintendents, 4 business managers, 8 principals, 3 directors of instruction, and 3 tech guys. And
I'm trying to remind everybody it's not your fault.
It's not my fault. Well, maybe so I don't want to do any more interviewing in the next 3 years. Please, gentlemen, ladies, listen. I think we're well positioned in the short run, because I think we have excellent people, and I'm just optimistic that we can get through this financial crunch as smoothly as possible. Another thing I want to talk about, and I read an article, John sent it out, about poverty. This is a different subject. There's a fairly strong correlation between poverty and educational achievement. I believe that many school districts are facing more poverty than we've seen in years, maybe we've ever seen, at least in my experience. We have kids that go home with backpacks with food in them for the weekend because they need it. I think that as a school district, we've become aware of it. One thing I'm proud of, and I give John White a lot of credit for this, when we negotiated the support staff contract, we had maybe, 15% of our workers a little above minimum wage. And our approach was to move that hourly rate toward a living wage. So I believe we've raised that percentage maybe about
We've done it twice, 1 more year there.
1 more year, moved it up about $3 an hour. So I think it's hypocritical to complain about poverty and then pay people minimum wage or close to it. So I think that's been an excellent thing we've done in my tenure here. I'm proud of that. And I'm afraid with the pressure that we have, economic pressure, we're going to have to defend that. Because I know there's part-time workers that get full-time health benefits, and these are going to be very difficult decisions, but I'm going to try and keep that going. I think I'm proud of our environmental awareness at this school district. I think it's one of the best I've seen around. We have solar panels. We have, which we got for a $180,000 grant, which was excellent. It was not quite free because we had to pay the architects $26,000, but
Your favorite thing.
I thought that was an excellent move. Half of our buses are going to be propane buses, non-polluting propane buses. I don't know if any other district has that many. I don't think so. I think we're leading district in energy awareness. I think we've done a lot of, in our capital projects, we've done a lot with our lighting systems, our window systems, to save money. I think we have students growing their own food. I think we have a lot of awareness in the cafeteria, and we have some people in to talk about food with the kids and recycling. I don't know if that's still going on in the cafeteria. I hope so.
Composting.
Yeah, composting. I'm sorry. Yes. So I'm proud of that. Of course, the most important thing in any school is providing the best, well-rounded education you can do with the money you have. I think T-Burg has excellent teachers for the most part who are dedicated, and that really helps. That's the key, and we need to try and keep them interested and keep them happy. I think our students can get into the best colleges in the country, and they have. I know my son and his friends, I don't know what everybody's done, but I know we have recent rocket scientists. We have patent lawyers. This is my son's class, and my son's a professor, so that's not bad either. But there's a lot of kids out there that are doing great things. Businessmen, excellent technical people. So I'm very proud of where we've been, and I think we can keep that up with our leadership here. So that's all I have to say.
Roy?
I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Roy Westwater. I've been in the community for 10 years. I have a 9th grader who's in the high school. Some of you might know me from recently coming on board with the school as your robotics advisor in the high school. I've also participated and volunteered my time in the athletics department as a volunteer coach for the modified baseball team and the JV team. My professional background is as a technologist. I've held various lead technology positions throughout my 20 years of experience. And at the same time, I've also been largely involved in the community, specifically in youth sports organizations. So I've been engaging in the last 2 years as I've observed these budget issues come forward, and I welcome the opportunity to work with the staff and the board to help work through some of the issues that we have going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Gary.
Your turn.
Yeah. People in the audience will know how much I like standing up in front of groups and talking. But since the precedent's been set, my name's Gary Astles. This is closing out my first term on the Board of Education. I have dedicated 20 years of work in Trumansburg to education, both as middle school principal and as board member. I've enjoyed my work. I want to continue that work. I want to continue to serve the community. And I think, as Peter said, we have a lot of challenges in front of us, both financially, I think in terms of how we're going to present and teach our students moving into the 21st century. And I'd like to be a part of the solution to those problems that are facing us. I think that I hope that I've served the community well in my past 3 years and would like to continue to do so. And I hope I bring a historical perspective that would be of importance to the board. And finally, most importantly, I'd like to continue my tutelage under Sensei Frank Rossi as a board member. And so I would ask for your vote. Thank you.
You're definitely a work in progress.
Definitely a work in progress. Bless you.
And Jane Gallagher.
Well, my name is Jane Gallagher, who's just been announced. I would like to say that I've been on the board for 3 years, and I think I can compare sitting on a Board of Education for the first couple of years as rather like playing a video game where the goal is to be able to figure out what the rules actually are. So after 3 years, I'm getting closer to the end of being able to figure out what some of those rules are. And I would like to continue to be able to sort of figure out the end of the whole thing. I can agree with Gary that as far as I'm concerned, it's a privilege to be able to serve with these people. We do have a lot of challenges, but what is exciting and I think very hopeful is working with people who are willing to think out of the box, who are willing to spend an awful lot of time and effort in coming up with multiple ways of being able to solve problems. Some of my main issues obviously would be the arts. Theater was one that comes to mind. Also, one of my other pet projects, I think, is Trimblesburg has an excellent reputation and it's well deserved for being able to prepare our students for college. I would like to see that we would have just as much of an excellent reputation in preparing students who may not have a college option but are going to go directly into the workforce. And I think that's going to be increasingly becoming something in the future given the fact that the economic situation is going to take a while to improve. So those are my goals, and I would like to say thank you. And I too have learned a lot under the tutelage of both John White and Frank Rossi, and I look forward to being able to help tutor Frank Rossi. Thank you.
Thank you. Need a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's considered again?
Moving on to the regular meeting consent agenda, looking for a motion.
So moved.
Any discussion, removing any? I would like to pull out the minutes of the meeting and we'll discuss those. I think they're on
One of,
A.
A.
So all but A
All
for
but A.
consent?
Yes. Looking for a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, back to A, I would like to add that we had a special meeting on the 24th of April for the BOCES budget. It made reference to 5-0, Douglas couldn't vote, so the vote was 4-0. And of course, it said evening, and changed that wording to morning. Anyone else wants any other motion to approve that?
So moved.
Yes, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any correspondence? Administrators report?
We are in the get to the end of the school year time. The spring weather has hit with a delightful effect. The administrators have finished up, for the very most part, the APPR process, and we've done scoring, and so we're anxious to kind of see the results of all those things. They'll be coming up before the end of the school year. That's basically, this is the
Gonna be hard to keep kids in the seats.
the work right now.
Anything?
Oh, wow, we're wrapping up the budget season and it has been months.
Thank God.
So thank you to everyone for their collective efforts, and I'm hopeful that people will come out to vote on the 21st and we can pass the budget and move on. The external audit starts soon after that, and we'll already begin conversations at that point, looking forward into the next year.
Thank you.
Well, our big focus has been the ELA and math testing, which is now complete, as well as scoring. Some of the feedback from teachers has been that the ELA was very long. We had many students who couldn't complete the task. In fact, there's one part where they're giving a planning page and the students planned, but then they didn't have enough time to write and the planning doesn't count. So it was challenging. The math, I think the teachers felt was more fair. and were on concepts that, you know, that we've taught, that also was very long.
Bless you.
So a lot of kudos go out to our teachers for putting a positive, relaxing as possible spin on the test and kind of getting our kids through it. So they did a great job, and our kids worked so hard. That's been our focus.
Yeah. To echo that, the test did produce a lot of anxiety, I think, and one of the goals was to get through the test without having kids have the negative effects of it, because it was long, it was arduous. The teachers did a fabulous job at doing that. After the scoring, this is my first time going through testing in April, so it was sort of a bizarre, all of a sudden we're peaking in April, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy, so that was interesting. I'm used to Regents testing that happens in June, and you sort of have this, that's the culminating assessment. The scoring was difficult, and getting it all organized and figuring out who scores what, because teachers weren't allowed to score their own kids, and so cross scoring and how that worked out, and the teachers handled that very well. We're moving on to the next sort of phase here, and wrapping up the year, and we're going to DC next week with the 8th graders, so that should be fun. It's my first trip with the 8th graders, so I'm excited for that. And the 8th grade science testing, is still looming. There's still tests that they have to take, the 8th grade science test.
4th too.
And 4th, yeah. And so that happens in May 22nd, I believe, is the beginning of the performance test, and then June 3rd, all right? June 3rd is the written test. And so there's still some hurdles that we have to get over for this year. And so, to Nadine's credit and to the 8th grade team's credit, keeping that ball up in the air while, the other kids have sort of gotten to this, okay, I just took that giant test, there's still a lot to do and a lot to teach, and so keeping that going. And let's see, the community week again is another big thing that the school is all involved in, and so the middle school is like in the throes of all of their stuff right now. We've got field trips all over the place, and and I think one of the exciting things for me is to see all of this experiential learning happening out in the community, using the resources that we have in the community. Going to Takana Creek and taking water samples. That's using that. I just observed a lesson today where Bill Begal was talking about taking water samples and talking about what that means for us, and what that means for the environment. And I think one of the exciting parts about this next sort of wave, and as we go along here, is how do we experience the community with the kids, and then how do we teach them to sort of be conscious about that, and so it's really exciting for me to watch that happen through these various field trips and through lessons in the classroom, et cetera, and so forth. So I'm excited to see what the final pieces of the year have to offer, and you'll be hearing from me as they come up.
So did you actually get a chance to see the test firsthand?
I did get to see it. It's now secure in a secure location. Nobody else can touch it.
With the Academy Award nomination.
The big joke was if you took this off the ground, I would have to tackle you, and train to tackle you.
People wouldn't come in my office. Can I enter?
So from your perspective, anything shocking?
I don't think it was shocking. I think a lot of the discussion, big shock was how long it was. to get to the same material, to get to the same sort of, you get the same result. I think the general feeling was that you don't need to test that long to get that. The critical thinking skills that are coming out with Common Core, I think, are very valuable. I think they're things that, you know, in education we've been, you know, really trying to get at. And now, you know, we're saying, okay, here's a test to mirror what we've been trying to get at. So I think that piece is exciting, because now we're actually moving towards this, okay, we're gonna build these critical thinkers, we're gonna build these readers, we're gonna build these mathematicians, and true mathematicians, and true readers. And I think that piece is very exciting. The hard part is that they haven't figured it out yet. They haven't figured out how to do that in a way that's not like small bits of torture for kids. And I think that that is a disservice to the type of thinking and to the type of teaching that is actually going on.
How many hours?
Each day was 90 minutes, so and there's 3 days. And two tests.
So at some point, so when you say long, so they grinded on a couple of tops, so there was 2 or 3 questions on each critical area you thought, or, I mean, at what point does fatigue set in and these kids, we're no longer assessing their ability to understand the information, we're just wearing them out? And, and of course, that's gonna be different for every kid too. Things aren't gonna fire in the first 40, like in the last 45 as they do in the first 45.
Correct.
So they get breaks in between, you got enough lemon heads, what's the story?
We had lemon heads till they were coming out through ears.
Good. So what's the strategy? I mean, you didn't know this was coming.
Not to this degree. I think part of you know the focus is going to be perseverance and sort of how to manage some of those the tests a little better. You know, obviously the small hope is that they figure out, wait, we don't need 3 days of testing.
To my point, so are you allowed to give feedback on these tests?
There are surveys that people can fill out, and we, at the staff meeting after the test, I had anyone who scored the test just sit and reflect in writing. And I'm sharing that with our whole staff so that, you know, starting at kindergarten, we can start talking about what does it look like.
Right.
But then I also shared it with the regional BOCES so that we can start sharing our thoughts.
So it sounds like it's pretty consistent in the message needs to get back. We felt it wasn't. I mean, not everybody, I don't know. Is this a way of telling whether we're preparing these kids to function in society in 4th or 5th grade, or that, you know, that we've done a good job with them up to this point? Do you think it tells us that? I mean, I know this is a new test, right? The problem is year after year, the tests keep changing. So if you prepare them for a long test, and next year they give us a short test,
then it'll be golden.
So then we'll be golden.
And soon we're moving online. We have about 1 more year, maybe.
So then there'll be typing will be a whole nother, it'll be long, it'll be typing. And they're still having to have all these critical thinking pieces where they have to go back into the reading, find the text evidence, their close reading, all these things take, like we're teaching them to do things that take time, and we're asking them to do multiple things for a really long period of time, but it's not even long enough to complete the task. So it's just, they're exhausted. They're exhausted.
Anyone else?
I'm just concerned about the typing skills. Yeah.
We are having, that's part of our conversation with technology.
Yeah. That's gonna be over there.
Our newly anointed tenured principal.
Just a few quick things. We had a great assembly last week. Jared Campbell presented for both the middle school and the high school. He's a musician from Binghamton that presented on, did a performance through our BOCES Arts and Education COSER. Did a great program for the kids on character and positive motivation, things like that. Great prom this past weekend. Our AP exams kicked off today, so there's a lot of stressed out high school kids in the building the next 2 weeks. And I just received our College Now summary for the year for our senior class, and I'd just like to share one of the great things about our school is that I have a staff that's really committed to the College Now program. So out of our 86 seniors, 69 students have earned college credit. among those 69 students, that amounts to about 80% of the senior class has college credit already upon graduation. Those students, the credits that they earn ranges from the lowest with students with just 3 credits, to a student with 52 credits. The average, if you factor in all of our seniors, the average senior in our school has 16.3 college credits, which amounts to over a semester of college already done, completed. And we have 19 students among that group that have more than 30 credits, which amounts to they've finished their freshman year in college through our high school program. The reason that I bring this up and share those statistics is because every one of those classes that those kids take to get that college credit is considered an elective. It's outside of what we have to offer. So as we consider budget implications and things like that, these are the things that we are working so hard to protect you as well as us. So it's working, and you can see the fruit of our labors. Piling on what I shared at the last meeting, we got the results of the Newsweek Daily Beast ranking. So of course we made the list of top schools in the U.S. So we still are making those lists, and for what it's worth, I know everybody argues about the validity of those lists, but you know what? I think we're one of the top schools in the nation, and obviously some other folks do too. So we're doing a really great thing in the school district and giving our kids lots of great opportunities. So thank you for continuing to provide those opportunities.
Does that information, do you ever, how widely known is that Newsweek ranking thing? I imagine everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to go to the
everybody-
chamber and remind people about that?
No, I share that because I go to the chamber meetings every month. So, but there are they're pretty well published.
We're trying to hold up our end of the deal.
Yeah.
Right? And so
Yep.
that's pretty good, right?
Yep.
What was Lansing?
I didn't look.
Are they on the list?
I didn't look. I just got it late this afternoon, the Newsweek one.
Are they on the list?
But we were, I know on the Washington Post one, we were, the only other district that made the list for the Washington Post was Ithaca, in Tompkins County.
Far rather than make the Washington Post.
So,
Thank you.
Mike, you got Babcock and Bliss?
I'm good.
Just 3 areas to briefly comment on. New technology, the iPad lease for teachers is under review with New York State SED, and we're expecting to have that clear hurdles any week now, and that will bring the wave of iPads to teachers. Our new servers and storage area network are in order, and so we're waiting for those materials as well. Leadership planning, been a very exciting couple of weeks working with the leadership team, and at this point I feel we have a pretty solid framework for strategically combining board goals with instructional goals, with professional development goals, and with technology resources. So we're putting, someone a few weeks ago asked us to connect the dots. We were connecting the dots, and we're really excited what we're going to have to say to you in a couple of weeks. It's going to be a really fun story to share. And the last thing I guess I wanted to say, just a quick look at my notes. Oh yes, community engagement. We are trying to imagine a way out of no way here, aren't we? And so community engagement is a piece of the solution, we think. And with community members like Roy Westwater, we are looking at starting a technology advisory / AKA technology booster group. And one of the very first projects we're looking at with the high school is, can we use high school students creatively next year in either a club or a class format to provide help desk support to teachers in the classroom. And so we're going to be working on that. So just a few tidbits. Thank you for your attention and your support. Oh, question?
Just a comment, and that is that I just got back from the San Diego conference, the National School Boards Conference, and there were 3 presentations involving just that.
Great.
Each classroom, and many schools, each classroom does have their own little group of techies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about getting people ready for the job, Jane, right away.
About
the kids who come through.
That's right.
We didn't say we weren't going to pay.
Students should
We'll come to that.
Students should unionize.
Should I know that we were talking about the library?
The kids who get through this collaborative class will be able to walk into jobs the day they leave here.
Right, and the other aspect too is the fact we get to able to take advantage of their expertise and the day give back. It's a nice balance.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, John, if I might, Mrs. Pepe will have my head on a platter if I don't remind folks to please fill this out. If you're able to attend graduation, Tina put one at everybody's spot when we first arrived. But this is the information we need for graduation, so it's just your information so we can make sure that we have appropriate caps and gowns for everyone, or gowns and hoods. So if you're able to attend graduation, we really would love to have you there. Should be a great day.
Thank you.
Open forum, at this time I'd like to give district residents opportunity to ask any questions about agenda or operations within the school district. Personnel matters will not be addressed in public session. Comments may be recorded and responded to by the Board of Education superintendent at a later date. We ask to keep comments to 5 minutes or less. How you doing, man?
How you doing?
You're okay? You look like you're ready to fall in a lake there or something.
I am.
What is it? You were coming up like you thought you were going to trip or something.
Oh, well, I wasn't sure if now was the time to get up or not.
Yeah.
But let me hand something out real quick before I start.
Matt, can I help you stand out while you talk?
No, okay. No thank you, no thank you. Well, just take a sec.
Yeah, you want another one? Speakers here.
What's this about, man? Can you speak? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name's Matt McLennan, and I have been a teacher here at Trumansburg for 15 years. Very happily employed in the district. And tonight I come to you to read you a letter that I wrote. And before I begin the letter, I would like to share my appreciation and respect for all of you for the decisions and the tough choices you guys have to make. So, here we go. Dear Board of Education members, administrators, and to those that may concern. Purpose for this letter is to share my observations and experiences of the past 3 years relating to the budgeting debate of driver education. 2, describe what I think are some important factors to consider while deciding the future driver education program year. 3, provide a 20-year timeline of T-Berg's driver education program. And 4, provide information detailing the requirements mandated by the state to become a certified driver ed teacher. Also, I will squeeze in a little plug for myself, my teaching experience and some examples of what I do. And last, an MOA proposal that I think is fair and consistent with other districts in our area. First, my personal observations and experience. And again, some of this is personal to me, but please understand that my motive and my goal is to pass on information and what I've observed the last couple of years, okay? It's not pointing fingers, it's not anything like that. So the past 3 years, Trumansburg Driver Ed program, I feel, has not been given appropriate consideration or representation when considering its budget. I have attended or watched all the Board of Education meetings that have discussed various topics relating to driver ed. I've also had face-to-face conversations with administrators and board members. From what I've observed, in most cases, the discussions that relate to driver ed have been impromptu, unorganized, and without key information needed to make an educated decision regarding the course. Last year, like this year and the year before that year, the board and administration was undecided about how to fund the program. For me, Last year, the 2011-2012 budget year was the most frustrating for me personally. It's important to note that New York State has an application process for teaching driver education. You have to fill out an application, submit certification, and all this other stuff before you can offer the course. So with this in mind, my supervisor, Mr. King, asked the board for their decision so he may proceed with the application process. Still, with unanswered questions, Mr. King and myself registered Trumansburg to teach driver education. We filled out the forms, did all the required application process. The result, the 2012 summer driver education program turned out to be successful. 19 out of 20 possible students earned their MV 285 certificates, and I don't know if we know this, but a half credit towards their diploma. I didn't write this in here, but let me just say, we charge students to take the class, we can't give them a credit. We don't charge them, we can offer them a half credit towards their diploma. Unfortunately, the proper paperwork was not submitted until late in the school year, and some members of the board administration did not see the proposed budget. So if I understand this situation correctly, my supervisor received the verbal okay to proceed with the budget we created, but was scrutinized for not submitting the proper paperwork. Consequently, I did not receive any part of my salary until 4 months after the starting of the job. Even more frustrating to me, it seems that this situation may make people less willing and more apprehensive to advocate for the program. On Mr. McGuire's very first day at Trumansburg, he was initiated into the district by dealing with this headache, and I believe this situation has created roadblocks that we are now trying to sort out. Just this past week, I learned that the board voted on an MOA to create a teacher's salary competitive with driver ed programs in the area, and I hope to recognize the responsibilities required of the teacher. I learned that the MOA was voted down by a 4-3 margin, and I also learned that the driver ed teaching position was now posted. I found this difficult not to take personal. The way I see it, this is my small quote. You have an experienced, motivated, capable, compassionate, loyal teacher at your disposal. And I wonder where the ethic piece comes in, where does the common sense come in? We have everything in front of us to run the program, but we choose not to save a couple bucks. That's what I'm guessing from my observations it was about. If it was the parent, if I was the parent of a student taking driver education this summer, I would be very angry. Here's why. If I'd say, do you mean to tell me that we're looking to hire a driver ed teacher that most likely will have zero experience, pay them $16.50 an hour, and hope that this teacher has the skills to supervise, teach my child, and 3 other children to drive downtown Ithaca for their very first time? I can come up with 2 possibilities for this thinking, and
Matt,
one of them is...
Matt, hold on a second. So we're way past the 5 minutes, which I'm okay to go with you, but we've got some clarification on a position.
Can I finish this?
Go ahead.
The time that you've spent on this topic, can I please just finish?
Yeah, because I'm just wondering if maybe what you're really talking about is mistaken.
Maybe, but...
Because we have minutes here that says we approved the driver ed program, 4-3.
Okay, we're almost through the main part.
Oh, okay, so that's not the issue of, okay, all right, fine.
This is
Go
kind
ahead.
of a...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll speed it up here. Most of the meat of it I've said, but yeah. 3 years ago, driver ed was getting fantastic support from you all, and it was even considered for to be implemented into our curriculum, so more students could take the course during the school year. This fell through because it didn't fit into our schedule. We tried every scenario, but it just wasn't going to fit. So that created a life hazard. So over the next few years, it has been apparent that the DOE members and administrators were becoming frustrated with this topic. That's my theme. Support for the program was becoming risky, inconsistent, and more difficult to predict. Opinions and philosophies seemed to change from one day to the next. My observations again, from watching meetings, talking to people. Today the mention of driver education make people want to grind their teeth, and I don't blame them. I'm ashamed to bring it up because people are sick of hearing talking about it. I mean, I really am embarrassed to advocate for it because it's just such, it's so frustrating. So, a couple things that have stalled this process, and then I'll go over what I was going to propose, and you'll be done with me. One, things that have prevented us from moving forward. Turnover of members of the DOE administration, different philosophies, opinions. Two, members of the DOE administration making sudden changes of opinions regarding the 3 topics. I've seen people all over the place with what they believe and what they want to do. 3 topics is, do we charge students or not? Teacher salary, or cut the program or not? 3, unpredictable Board of Education agendas and budget proposals. I went to one last year that the budget, it was supposed to be in the budget and then it was forgotten to be put in the budget. And 4, the topic table, key players aren't there, conflicting information. 6, personal biases, some harbor resentment, last year's budget situation. 7, fear of potential fallout. By offering, this one I haven't mentioned yet, this one really irks me personally. The fear of potential fallout by offering the driver education instructor a separate salary from those summer curriculum projects. Some feel this might open a can of worms. So, common sense to me, and please don't, just a tiny bit frustrated from some things, so trying not to, please don't take my,
Say it, Matt. Say it.
Okay.
They're used to me, Matt.
Yeah, give it to us, Matt.
Well, I'm obviously passionate about this program, and it's not, I'm trying not to direct any kind of resentment towards anyone. So $7,500 was budgeted for the driver ed program this summer. In an effort to save money, the idea of charging students was discussed as a way of cutting into the $80,000, whatever need to stay beneath the tax cap. At this time, with all the finagling, the budget, the driver ed budget's down to $6,000. If my numbers are correct, we saved a whopping $1,500 instead of recognizing that we have $7,500 right here at our disposal. We have a qualified, capable teacher. To me, it was a no-brainer. But then I learned last week, that's when my throat's a little scratchy. That's when I learned about the MOA and the posting of the position. I'm not going to read through this, but you can see at the bottom, there's a history of driver ed T-Bird. And from 1993 to 2003, we had between 55 and 60 students every summer, 3 instructors and a coordinator. It's pretty interesting. Got cut in 2004 through 2011. And while it was cut, BOCES offered driver ed and Trumansburg was allotted X number of seats to take the class. In addition to that, yours truly organized and ran the Drive Red program at Trumansburg, or a second session at Trumansburg to allow 20 more students to take the class during those years that we didn't have it here. Okay? That's going to be key for my plug, or not my plug, my proposal. That I'm almost there. 2012, it's back. 1 instructor, 1 coordinator, 19 to 20 students earn their MV 285 certificates. And here's my big plug. My brief history, my education for driver education, went to Binghamton University. Actually, I was asked by, I believe, John Fury. He sent out an email saying, does anyone want to get certified to teach driver ed? I'm like, sounds cool to me. So I got the information, I went and got certified. I took 4 graduate level classes, $1,200 each class, $4,800. And I joke because those 4 classes, I did more work in those 4 classes than I did in my whole 6-year undergrad career, which is a lot. So, or 4, 5. I was awarded permanent driver, my teaching certificate for driver in 2005. And my experience, I taught, my first year was at Trumansburg, and I was paid $16.50 an hour. Went to BOCES the next year because we cut the program, and I earned $30 an hour for the next 10 years. And I didn't receive an increase in pay because it was a grant, funded by a grant. Last year, my 10th year, I was paid roughly $35 an hour to teach at Trumansburg. Okay. Yeah, I love to teach driver education. I just love it. It's something totally different. I think it's valuable. Take pride in it. I don't cut corners, so to speak. Everything.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
So Matt, what's your proposal, man? Let's hear the
All right,
proposal.
all right.
Yeah, we gotta get a solution.
Okay, so I laid the groundwork for this.
Yeah.
All right, here's my proposal. Board of Education votes on a new MOA. MOA would propose the starting salary for the driver ed instructor to be at $30, with a pay increment abiding by the current contract agreement. Hiring a program coordinator at a fixed salary of $1,500. As long as the program is offered, cement a fixed budget of $8,500 to cover drive ed expenses. Gas, materials, instructor, coordinator, rollover. If no application received from the current job posting, consider hiring Matt McLennan and grant him the 10 years of teaching experience he has earned. Consider the fact that he has taught driver ed to Trumansburg students each summer for the past 10 years. Lastly, if by the remote chance you have a disgruntled employee complain to you about the fairness of the salary offered to the driver ed instructor, I encourage you to direct them to me, and I will give them contact information so they can begin their certification.
Thank you, Matt.
That was long, and I apologize it was that long, but thank you for being patient. This was just as therapeutic for me as anything.
Very good. Thank you, Matt. Other open forum? Ms. Salib?
Good evening. I'm Nadine Salib. I've been teaching in Trumansburg now. This is my 9th year teaching science at the middle school. And I'm standing before you today in order to voice my concerns as well as those of my colleagues regarding some proposed changes at the middle school for next year. It has been proposed that teams and team leaders will be cut for next year. And as I approach my 10th year here in Trumansburg, I've seen this happen twice before, and each time ending in devastating results for the programs and support we provide for our students. I'm disheartened to see the concept of team on the chopping block once again. Team is one of the foundations of the middle school philosophy, and without it, we are a junior high school operating under the guise of being a middle school. I have never been team leader, so I'm not advocating for myself as wanting a job. I don't want that job. I am just a teacher who has appreciated the position and also the time in the day, and has appreciated working in a middle school. As somebody who originally started working in the high school, not here, but in another city, and thinking I never wanted to be a middle school teacher, and for other teachers who have been moved to the middle school, having worked in high schools, and been moved to middle school and thinking there's no way I'm going to like this, this team and team leaders has made teaching in middle school enjoyable, and has created a community not only within the teachers but between the teachers and students that is not felt at the high school level. I feel that high school is really curriculum driven, and that's not the purpose of middle school. While we do need to give curriculum and instruct, there's a huge emotional component to middle school that needs to also be addressed, and that's the purpose of middle school. If team and team leaders are cut for next year, we may not be able to provide the following programs and services: 8th grade shadowing day, 6th grade medieval festival, recognition awards, which we as an 8th grade team have been able to do the last few years, and that is to acknowledge every single kid in 8th grade, and it's a huge deal. Effective RTI referrals and interventions, 8th grade moving up ceremony, parent conferences, academic interventions and supports for students, social and emotional supports for students, effective communication between teachers and parents, proposals for testing schedules, meaningful and educational field trips, etc., etc. I could keep going on. I kind of made the list shorter in order to make my time here. If the district goes ahead with cutting team, we believe a team leader would still be valuable for the following: RTI, collecting data and referrals, coordinating events like field trips, the Washington DC trip, moving up ceremony, awards, coordinate rotation of students in CAS and labs each marking period, coordinate nomination of students for character education programs, help disseminate pertinent information to teachers who cannot attend common planning time, be the voice of the teachers, bring concerns and ideas to the principal, collect and keep data, star screenings, parent conferences, etc., and foremost, advocate for students in need of help. If our goal is to provide quality programs and services to students, then I believe we need to strongly reconsider any cuts to team or team leaders. I've heard floating around the idea of a program coordinator, which I think is more curriculum based, and again, I don't feel that middle school is supposed to be divided up into subject area. I think it's always been centered around grade levels, and that is what team is about. We talk about the changes that have happened over the years with kids and our community, and declining enrollment, but increasing poverty, and a lot of this affects our students, not just academically, but emotionally, and we need to be there for them. And I feel that team does the best job of providing for them. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.
Anyone else for open forum? Yes?
Okay. I just want to, it's a kind of a different topic altogether, but kind of fits in together. Just want to say that my son this year is graduating from Cornell, and it's basically because of the education that he got in Trumansburg. A large number of my son's friends are graduating this month from four-year universities in 4 years, which is an amazing feat. If you realize that in terms of
I think how many? 60%. It's like right around 60% get out in 4 years. It's not very high.
Right, and if you look at the statistics of his friends, which he has like most of the kids that he knew in his class, about 60% of them are graduating from college this May, so from a four-year college. 25% have already graduated earlier and decided to do that. I feel he had received an amazing education from this school district. He was one of the students that received the 40+ credits for his AP courses in College Now, as well as private education. Yes. From Mr. McLennan. And I also just wanted to thank you for that, and hope that as you move your budgets forward, that you'll continue to create the quality education that my son received. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to echo what she said. I've had two daughters go through this district, and I've sat at that table for 9 years, and I know the difficult decisions you need to make. And I'm pleased that our daughters had a wonderful foundation with the education that they received here, but I'm also afraid that that same level of education is dwindling. When I read the paper and saw what Ithaca was proposing that they were doing with the money that they got from the state, it was they were building upon programs. And when I read the article in the Free Press about what Trumansburg was doing, just as the screen showed here, everything was cut. And one day last week when I was leaving the school, in the classroom that I was in, there was a child in crisis. Somebody was coming to help that child. 2 more people were coming down the hall to help 2 other classrooms. And I thought, those 3 people are not going to be here next year. You have made some very, very difficult decisions, and it's based upon, you know, the resources that you have. It does, you know, this tries to put it all in a positive light. You've all said very positive things here tonight. And I'm positive that everybody that remains in this district is going to do the best they can for our children. But it is a critical time, and I thank you for the work that you do. I do have a couple of questions about this information that you put out. So on here it says Douglas Land's term expired in 2012, and that should be corrected in any publication that you have. And I question the board candidates as you have listed here. They appear differently than the order in which they presented tonight. And I think they need to appear in the order in which they're going to be on the ballot for people to vote on. And
because well, yeah.
Tina's not done the drawing.
I did, but not.
Okay, and there are a couple other typos on that page.
Well, you'll get them to us, will you guys
Yeah,
slip them up here so we
email
don't have to go through them
Yeah.
verbally? That'd be great,
Okay.
just slip them up here, we'll get them fixed. Anything else, Maureen?
No, which way are they appearing on the ballot? As they are here, or as they were in your
Tina?
agenda tonight?
Which way will they be appearing on the ballot?
The way that they are on the agenda.
Apparently the drawing was done after that.
Yes, April 29th, I think it is. So the way that they are on the agenda is how they'll appear on the.
We'll change that.
For new business? Yeah.
Maureen, you set?
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, so any more open forum? Thank you. So we'll start with new business. Acceptance of donation be it resolved upon the recommendation of Superintendent Schools Board of Ed. Hereby accepts the donation from the middle school PTO in the amount of $480 to the 7th grade class for the floating classroom as presented. Got a motion, need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions, okay. Acceptance of donation in the amount of $2,016.25 from the Trumansburg All Sport Boosters to the athletic department for the purchase of boys and girls soccer uniforms and modified track uniforms as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Discussion? We certainly appreciate that. That's a big, huge help in our athletic department. All that's $2,000 we can give Matt for driver's ed. Now that he's gone. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Do we have policy? Have we done policy right now?
Okay, you gotta get this one. This one's the
Don't forget this.
Okay, I'm sorry. New business. Approval of the amended 2013-14 property tax report card. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools for the Board of Ed for the Trumansburg Central School District hereby approves the amended 2013-14 property tax report card as presented. Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Kimberly, can you just refresh our memory as to
Yes.
what minor changes were made to this? Because they were pretty minuscule, were they not?
So if you look at the part that says total proposed spending, the line just below that, the state has actually created this form. It says total proposed school year tax levy, including tax levy to support library debt. It does not, in fact, include our library levy, so that is just our levy. It's deceiving how it's written, so
Okay.
the library levy needed to be reduced from that figure.
Further discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we got that in there. So now it's policy, which we have none. So we have for board forum, we have to, is this a recommendation? It is a recommendation for you.
Well, it's board,
No,
it's by the
it's
board.
the
It's a
discussion
recommendation.
conversation by the board, but I'm thinking at the end of this, you would probably have a motion and a vote.
Well, let me read what we have here, and we'll create this recurring motion of this. Approval to fill vacant board seat, be it resolved that upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, the Board of Ed for the Trumansburg Central School District hereby approves the seat vacated by John R. White be up for public vote on May 21st, 2013, for a term of 7/1/13 to 6/30/14. So that's 1 year term, and so let's get, is that, so, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, now discussion. Go ahead.
That person would be the fourth person of the
election.
Of the election.
The person with the fourth lowest vote count.
The lowest vote count.
Tina, do you know if we have policy
No, the
on
fourth
this?
lowest, you're right, yeah.
The fourth lowest.
Last place.
Last
I
place.
didn't know.
I can't remember if it was law or policy that I read that said we can
Okay.
choose to either fill it or.
Yes, we can.
School law.
Last place.
Well, that's in school law. I was wondering if we had any policy stating that, for example, it
Yes.
goes to the lab, you know, and we probably need to think about drumming something up if we don't.
I remember when I ran with Jeff, when I first came on, Mary had resigned.
Correct.
So I think Jeff got the 1 year position at that time with the number of
And
votes.
it may be,
So there must be some precedence for that.
but I'd just like to draw that up.
Are we gonna be able to get that now? Are you okay to vote with this before we get that?
For-
The fewest number.
Fewest
Not
number.
the fewest number, because there could be a.
So are we,
Fewest number of votes.
are we prepared to vote on this motion without this information that Douglas is requesting with regard to the way it will be elected?
I see what you're saying, you're running candidate.
We're prepared to vote.
I'm ready.
Well, so does the proposal mention how this person's being selected? 'Cause
No, it
didn't
just
say-
says that right now, we're approving the ability to fill the seat.
Oh, okay.
That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
How that seat gets filled, to me, is almost a different question.
Right.
Okay.
That's policy.
Approved, yeah, hereby approves the seat vacated for public vote, be up for public vote. So that's the
Okay.
motion.
That's it.
Do we need more discussion on the idea that we want to post a seat? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions,
I
okay.
abstain.
So that passed,
I abstain.
yeah, one abstention. So now all we have to do is get an answer to Douglas's question, our question about how that
Got
goes.
it,
That's
resignation
not-
and dismissal of board member.
That's fine. That's it. And then, old business, board retreat.
Wait.
I'm confused, so how are we determining who gets that seat?
Okay, you want to discuss that now?
Yeah.
We can,
Don't you, in years past, to look, we had to cycle this last year around. And 2 people ran for 1 seat, or 3 people, but it was this, fill the immediate seats, the 3-year terms with the highest number of votes and work backwards. So in this case, the 4th highest is going to get my seat, they'll fill it for 1 year.
Do you want me
I
to
think
read
it
the
is
policy?
if that's what we say it
Do
is.
we have the
Yes.
policy?
In the event of vacancy on the Board of Education, the position may be filled in the following ways. The board may call a special election within 90 days. The board may appoint a qualified person. The district BOCES superintendent may appoint a qualified person. The commissioner of education, a person elected or appointed to fill A vacancy takes office immediately. If the vacancy is filled by special election, the new member serves the remainder of the unexpired term. If the vacancy is filled by appointment, the new member serves only until the next regular school district election. That's how.
So this is not gonna, we're gonna make them part of the general election, not part of the special election.
That's right, it's part of the general
Elected to
election,
do
but
that.
it still doesn't say who gets the seat.
School law, I think, says least number of votes, but I can look at it.
So do we have another board meeting
It's
before
not-
the election?
As,
No.
as Peter had in the
not-
side conversation, it's not the least number of votes, because if we have a write-in candidate, now we have 5 candidates, or potentially any
Like
number of
right now.
write-ins.
It's the fourth most.
It's the fourth
most.
Yes.
So,
Good point.
Is there an echo in here?
Let's see if I can find this.
Oh, Tina.
Well, if we don't have a board meeting before the election, we need some clarification on this point. Do you think, yes? Seems like we need clarification on who's gonna be on the board. That seems like a pretty important.
We'll talk about the retreat.
Okay, well, while you're looking for that, we can move to the retreat. The dates, I would personally like to see if we could set 2 dates, evenings with food, you know, on the lake. Oh, I'm sorry, do you have a lake house? Oh, that's,
Also alpaca farmhouse.
that's right, we could come to the alpaca farmhouse. So, can we set some dates and then start talking about, directions at some point? But let's see if we can get some dates now that, you know, budget season is passed and we can do some real sort of thinking about, before the crisis mode kicks again. I'm hoping we can spend some time thinking. So do we want to try to do it before the end of the school year? Or do we think that's too ridiculous for our administrators, who usually like to join us in the retreat? Or do we want to have a retreat just among the board and not the administration?
There's gonna be lots of wild fun, because I don't wanna invite them, but it's gonna be lots of fun.
It's only well fun if we're there.
Because obviously we're gonna ask them to get it on their calendar too. Do we wanna? So let's handle that question
I
first.
think it's important we need some executive session space to like talk about them.
That's fine. We could have 2, one with them, one without.
Okay.
The question is, which one you wanna do first?
I
Please,
definitely
Michael.
think you need to include, the board needs to include the administrative
I
team.
do too.
We make tons of decisions, we work together as a team, we wanna stay working as a team, so we all need to be there for the conversation.
Excellent.
And
So,
we need to hear from you directly rather than Tina or myself reporting what the board said.
excellent. So,
We want the team there, so we just have to find a date that we all make work.
you all right with that? You all right with that? Everybody's all right with, we'll do it all together? Okay, so dates. Are you, how does June look? Not good, right? June is not a good time?
Crazy.
So July, we're in July?
July.
All right.
First week I'm gone.
I'm gone the last 2, so how are we looking for the middle?
It looks like it's a
Actually, the
second.
actually the first week would be better for me.
First week is better, that's the week of the 1st?
I thought you said
No.
you're
The
gone.
second week I'm
I'm
gone.
gone the week of the
Oh, okay.
4th.
You're
Okay, how
gone,
about-
you're gone that week, that's the 4th of July week.
Let's
The
get into
following
week
week, the
of
8th
eight.
is no good?
No, I'll be in Wisconsin.
How about the 15th? Week of the 15th?
Works.
Yes?
Let's go the week of the
Yes.
15th. Got enough votes now.
So let's see, how about this Wednesday, the 17th, sleep over, wake up on the morning and... I'm kidding.
I like the middle of it.
I'm not driving home.
I'm not saying
17th,
that.
17th, you can stay on the lake that night, you gotta stay over everybody.
I do.
17th, 17th,
Okay. July 17th.
17th? Michael Bliss?
17th.
You?
It's good.
Never been.
Never been.
Not
17th.
17th it is.
Good time.
Why don't we say, is 5, 6 o'clock usually a good time that we bring things to eat and then we sort of chat?
Yep.
And we can start formulating an agenda for that, so we can actually, you know, have some serious conversation and then, you know, get completely ridiculous after that?
Yes.
Are we still online, Michael?
Yes.
Ridiculous.
I'm gonna blame you, Mika. You talk too much in these meetings. She talks too much, we can't get anything done with her. Okay, so we have a, let's see, that's the first thing.
Monday.
We have the retreat date. What else do we have for discussion? We have to start talking about succession planning.
Yep.
And I'm trying to schedule meetings with some folks to have those discussions. listen, I mean, I just wanna say, I love hearing from the community and Matt, and I understand everybody's frustrations. I think all of us understand everybody's frustration. The thing that resonates with me, when I don't mind being criticized because they think we should have made a different decision than we did. I perfectly accept that good people can disagree about things. But I think I have always felt we've done a really good job and I think we work hard at trying to be deliberate. And we're not always as deliberate as I think we would all like ourselves to be. And I think it's because we operate in crisis mode most of the time. And I think now we have a unique opportunity for the next few months before the whole thing starts again in September and we start talking about budget on September 3rd or whatever friggin' day that's gonna be. That between now and then and even into that period, until the budget starts heating up again, we really start, reimagining what we want this place to be. Because Gary said it very poignantly at a meeting, we're not gonna be able to cut or raise our taxes out of these situations any longer. And I think we have to have broad discussions. And I thought what Peter said was very right about it. We really feel, I think collectively we feel like we're in good stead because of you guys. I think we try to do what we can do, but we're in good stead because of you guys. And I think the turmoil that Peter talked about is not well known about how much that undercuts the function of a board. When you don't have consistent, competent leadership, we get in the mud. And then, hopefully, I feel like we're washing ourselves off from coming out now. We've got some, new board members coming. And that's really a good thing, getting rid of John, he's been a pain in the ass all these years, we're happy to get rid of him now. But guys like that, like I say to everybody, if everybody cared as much as he did, we wouldn't have a lot of problems in this community. So, I'm looking forward to good retreats, leadership discussion about all of us leading parts of this district in partnership with these guys. So, I think the retreat's gonna be really important work, so we don't have to grouse. And hear that the way we have stumbled through these driver ed discussions.
Yeah.
Stumble every time. One time it was a last minute thing to get a music teacher. I remember that discussion. You were a principal back then, weren't you? Anyway, board forum. You have board forums? Board forum?
I have two things, and I hate to ask. So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that applications for the driver ed position closed last Friday?
Yes.
And did we get candidates or applicants for that?
No applicants.
Pardon?
We had no applicants. Tina and I talked today about this. I'm sorry that Matt had such a long presentation because there's so many things that he doesn't know that we've been talking about, so.
Well, let's do this. Let's not talk about this how do you feel? You think we should talk about this when we left? Seems like a personnel matter we shouldn't discuss, but.
It's a contract, there's contract things driving this, there's way we post positions, we can't just award positions to.
I don't think it's personal at all, Frank.
No, I'm not saying it's personal.
It's personal to him, but it's not personal to us.
It's personnel, the way we do
But
things.
it's still, Mr.
No, you're saying there's a
McGuire,
discussion going to be.
If I could finish.
It's all about personnel matters.
Could we, Frank,
Wait a minute.
And Tina and I talked about casting a wider announcement of the position. Because part of our conversation with the board and with Kimberly and John King is that at the contracted rate for summer school, which we believe this falls under, we're not sure we're gonna be able to get somebody. And we didn't so far, so we're gonna broadcast it one more time, more widely through the newspapers. And then if we don't, then the plan would be to come back to the board and say, well, we are either going to have to just say we don't have a candidate or anyone who's interested, or we would have to come to the board and say we are going to need to seek an MOA with the TTA to increase the salary for driver's education. But I will tell you, I've been told personally by Lynn Berukowitz that if we do that, it opens up a lot of things, and I don't know where that goes. It may not just be increasing driver's education teacher's salary. It might be a lot of other things. And that is something, we may have to explore that and find out exactly what that means. But when I asked the board earlier, it wasn't a vote, that was not what happened. It was just kind of a consensus, no, we don't want an MOA to open up the contract. Because we had just like a meeting before said, okay, let's agree to the contract.
he miscarried.
So that's what happened.
Yeah, he was.
So right now, the status is we do not have an applicant. We're going to post and seek and broadcast and advertise more widely and see what happens. But then we'll have our proof that those rates will not attract a driver's education qualified teacher. But right now, we don't have that.
So in the long run, it moves us towards what Matt was talking about.
It will make the case that driver's education teachers probably don't come in at $16.50 an hour.
Probably not.
So that's
Other
what we're
board
doing.
forms?
The only other topic that I wanted to raise that I would like us to look at in terms of our retreat was the point that John made in his presentation, that so many of the courses where students, seniors earned college credit were electives. And I would like to implore Mr. McGuire as the superintendent to take the message to BOCES, Douglas to take the message through School Boards Association, to say fundamentally we need to re-look at what the senior year in public education looks like. And Trumansburg, I think, has an opportunity to lead that discussion for the state. And as opposed to being an elective, that ought to be the norm, that 12th grade education ought to be some type of college credit across the board. And how we develop that, I think, is open to a lot of discussion and interpretation. But I think we're capable in this district, because of our unique circumstances, our small class sizes, the community we live in, to be able to provide that kind of education to not only students who are going on to four-year colleges, but students who are going into the world of work, because those kids need some type of associate degree training also. And it would, I think, we should be on the cutting edge of that. So.
That's the reason we do the trades, yes. Other board forum, Jane, good?
I'm good.
Good. Peter, you good? Good?
For only the second time in 4 years, I'm gonna be missing the next board meeting, but I'll be back for the one after that.
So the next time, so it's get out, okay, just last thing, right, this May Day 5K, right, the run is this Saturday?
Yep, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, so that was Amy Dawson and Heather Hawes are the ones that have corralled me into sort of doing this. Thank all the board members for promoting that. When is the election?
21st of May.
Yes.
So everybody, we want everybody to go out and vote.
And notably, our next board meeting is the next day.
That's the one
It's
you
not
want.
the day
Yeah, the
before
next
the
day.
election.
The next
It's not
day.
Wednesday.
It's the Wednesday.
And this
It's
is
the Wednesday.
Monday routine, so this is a Wednesday. The next time we meet will be a Wednesday.
Okay, move for adjournment? No more exec? No, great. Yes,
Hello?
Roy?
Could someone please summarize the decision on 10A? Vacant board member seat?
The what?
Yes,
We decided to fill it.
we decided to fill it, but we don't know who fills it. What you're asking is, who fills it in the slate?
Right, and I need to look that up.
And we need to look at it.
More than likely, it's the person with the fourth amount of votes. Fourth most.
That's the way we've done it in the past.
It's
Until
probably
John
in
stays
school
seat.
law, and I don't think anybody's got the school law book.
I don't.
It may be silent about that, leaving the board to decide. We'll find
In
out.
which case, we should establish it.
Yeah, yes, since our next board meeting isn't until after that.
Yes.
I would
It's gonna be a little
suggest this,
touchy.
I'd make this recommendation.
Okay,
It's not
make the
too late.
recommendation.
That the board decide it right now, and unless there's state law that
Okay.
says otherwise, the board would decide that the fourth most vote count person is chosen for the 1-year seat.
So the recommendation by the superintendent is the candidate receiving the fourth most votes will fill the 1-year seat vacated by John White on the election in May.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you. Well done.
Move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn, sorry. So moved.
Second.
Second. Aye.
Yeah.